It's time for another episode of Let's Talk Manufacturing South Carolina, featuring interviews with leaders and influencers across a variety of manufacturing disciplines discussing trending topics in the industry. Let's Talk Manufacturing is part of the Let's Talk Business South Carolina network of B2B talk shows and brought to you by the South Carolina Manufacturing Extension Partnership. And now, coming to you from the Drum Creative Studio, here's your host, longtime South Carolina business publisher, Rick Jenkins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Let's Talk Manufacturing South Carolina. We are coming to you from the Drum Creative Studios, and I'm your host, Rick Jenkins. Today's episode is brought to you by AFL. They are a leading global provider of optic solutions for broadband networks and data centers. AFL does business around the world, but they are headquartered right up the road in Duncan. Let's Talk Manufacturing is produced in conjunction with the South Carolina Manufacturing Extension Partnership. SCMEP is a proven resource for the state's manufacturers, providing them with strategies and solutions to improve performance and profitability. 4 guests are going to join me today, and let me tell you who they're going to be. Jared Mogan, he is the Vice President of Operations at MAU Workforce Solutions. He's going to talk about workforce challenges facing the industry, including how manufacturers must now consider changing their management style to deal with the new generation of workers. And then Andy Carr, the CEO at SCMEP, will share insight on how Industry 4.0 technologies are being implemented in today's smart factories. And in our featured segment, Stijn Vandeveld, CEO at Gimba Systems, and Eric Borowitz, the General Manager at AFL Conductor Accessories, will share how they used big data analytics to address challenges with warehouse reorganization, shipping management, production scheduling, and quality control. All right, let's take a quick 60-second break, check out the message from our presenting sponsor, AFL, and when we return, I'll be joined by Jared Mogan with MAU Workforce Solutions. See you soon. Welcome back, everyone, to Let's Talk Manufacturing. I'm your host, Rick Jenkins. Many industries are experiencing workforce challenges these days, and the advanced manufacturing industry is, of course, no exception. Finding the right employees is not always easy, especially when unemployment rates are minuscule. Manufacturers not only have jobs to fill, but they must build a modern workforce, one that is savvy enough to work with all this Industry 4.0 technology that now runs our smart factories. So how do we build that workforce? Here to share some insight is Jared Mogan. He is the Vice President of Operations at MAU Workforce Solutions. Jared, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It is good to have you here. You are with MAU Workforce Solutions, and you guys just celebrated 50 years in business, I believe last year, right?
That's right.
So you guys have been around quite some time, and you know a thing or two about manufacturing. It's your specialty.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, what I want to talk to you today is about the problems that we are having in the advanced manufacturing world with finding new folks, of course, and keeping jobs filled. And I think one of the reasons is, and you tell me, but there's a lot of technology that we've been talking about. And finding people to run that technology, man that technology, and understand it has to be difficult, right?
Absolutely, it is. And I think there's kind of 2 sides of the coin. You know, a lot of this technology is being introduced into manufacturing because of some of the workforce challenges, and also to become more efficient and productive. You know, if you can increase your line speeds by introducing a cobot or a robot, That's what manufacturers are going to do. I will say, though, that we have also on the other side of this a unique opportunity to identify the younger talent, the younger generation who grew up with using technology, identify those individuals who may be good fits for operating a piece of equipment that didn't exist 10 years ago, a robot, or programming that robot, or thinking about the technology that goes into logistics and supply chain. And so while this new technology can be challenging to identify talent to run and operate it, we have a unique opportunity with the generation that grew up with this type of technology or is growing up with this type of technology, and matching those two, we're in a unique spot for that.
You know, I know when I was young, if somebody, and they had this type of technology when I was young, if somebody had come to me and said, hey, Rick, you can do this, you can work with a robot, you can do all of this cool stuff, man, I'd have been all over it. I think that the real challenge seems to be is making them understand what it is you can actually do in this business.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's funny you say that. There are some really great programs, specifically in the upstate of South Carolina, that are focused on just that. There are some of the trade schools, some of the tech schools, specialty schools in the upstate. I know quite a few, and we're partnered with them. And they are doing amazing things. In the high school students come over to these programs and get the opportunity to work on robots. They get to work on building artificial intelligence models. They get to work on 3D printers. It's pretty fascinating what they get to do.
And who wouldn't want to do that? And I think one of the keys, Jared, is, and you know this, we've talked about it before on here, is that we have to make moms and dads aware that manufacturing is a cool job. This ain't your daddy's manufacturing anymore, right? We're not looking for people to come in and just turn bolts and turn a wrench. We're looking for people to, as you say, manage the cool robots. Mom and dad have to understand that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes it's more of a challenge convincing them than it is convincing the job seeker.
Right.
You know, making sure that we're educating them and preparing the minds of the parents to prepare the minds of the children, so that when they're ready and of age to begin working, we have that workforce,
right,
and they're skilled, they're ready to go.
Well, the workforce today is different than the workforce from yesterday, which was different than the workforce from the day before that. And now we're dealing with Gen Z folks, and they are different than me, and they are different than you. Are manufacturers prepared to manage Gen Z folks the way they've always managed in the past, or do they have to do something different?
They have to do something different, yeah, for sure. And, you know, we've got the opportunity to work with a lot of great manufacturing customers all across the Southeast. And one thing that is true is we are all having to be creative about the offering for the next generation. They want flexibility. They want a clear career progression. They want to understand what's next, and feel that my employer is preparing me for what's next. They want tech. They're interested in technology. They also want a work-life balance, and sometimes that's difficult when you're working a 24/7 operation.
Right.
Is how do we create that balance? So yes, manufacturing traditionally has been fairly rigid. How do we introduce more flexibility into that?
Right.
And we've had a lot of customers come up with great solutions to ensure that we're providing that to the workforce of today.
When you say customer, you mean a manufacturer?
Manufacturer.
Right.
Yes,
so your manufacturing customers understand that we got to change.
Yes.
We can't do it the way we've always done it. We have to manage them the way they need to be managed.
That's true.
I'm going to get you out of here on this. One of the other problems I think that we have, not only in this industry, but a lot of them, is we have a skills gap. And yes, that relates to new folks as we hire them, but it also relates to existing employees that are within an operation. I think sometimes right now we have to hire folks from within that we might not normally hire from within because we just can't find the right people. And there is a skills gap there that might exist, that does exist, which requires training, maybe more importantly than it's ever been before. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. There's a Deloitte study out that many people quote, but it predicts that 60%, there will be 60% more jobs open than we have today. I think it's 2.1 million jobs come 2030 due to technology. And we just don't have the talent to handle all of the technology.
That's right.
And so another example of a manufacturing customer who is working with a local technology school, a tech school. They have customized a training program that is built for their operation that is all around the use of technology, Industry 4.0, advanced manufacturing. It's one example of something that a manufacturer is doing uniquely to get ahead of some of those challenges. Mm-hmm. And I believe that manufacturing, especially over the past 5 years with just the headaches and the hurdles, the logistics, the supply chain challenges, they are in a unique spot to take advantage of some of those opportunities, but also it's very challenging because how do you slow down to stop and plan? And we get the unique opportunity to come alongside many of those manufacturers and help create some of those solutions for them.
Good stuff, Jared. Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you.
Folks, that's Jared Mogan. He is the Vice President of Operations at MAU Workforce Solutions. We're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
If you work for one of South Carolina's 5,700 manufacturing companies, you're part of something really cool. Hey, this thing's cool. Oh, this machine is so cool.
Yes, it's the same training program we've used since 2002. So what, Bill?
Even Richard here is cool. But his outdated employee training program isn't. We can help you with that. What if you're a small manufacturer, like these guys?
You mean to tell me another batch failed inspection? Not cool.
But you need a quality management system that satisfies the needs of the big guys. We can help with that too. What if you fix things? How do you find, hire, and hold on to your best employees? Like this guy. Yep, we can do that too. We know that manufacturing is a complex symphony of moving parts, and that if any one part is out of sync, everything can come to a complete and utter stop. Definitely not cool. SCMEP has the resources to help your manufacturing operation thrive. Now that's definitely cool. Visit scmep.org for a free competitiveness review.
Welcome back, everyone, to Let's Talk Manufacturing. I'm your host, Rick Jenkins. As I mentioned, today's episode is brought to you by AFL. They are a leading global provider of optic solutions for broadband networks, data centers, and other applications. A couple months ago, Mark Bullock, the president of product solutions for AFL, joined me on an episode of Let's Talk Business. He provided a great overview of what's happening over there. A link to that interview is in the comments section below. I encourage you to check that out when you can. Let's Talk Manufacturing is produced in conjunction with the South Carolina Manufacturing Extension Partnership, and now it's time to spend 5 minutes with the CEO at SCMEP, Andy Carr. Welcome to the show, Andy.
Rick, thank you. It's good to be here.
It is good to have you here, pal. I haven't seen you in a little while. It's always good to spend a few minutes with you. We're going to talk about practical analytics here in just a minute. Gimba Systems is going to be here. AFL Conductor Accessories is going to be here. We're going to be talking about that, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But first, I want to talk about kind of technology in general. It seems that technology, moving fast and furious, it never stops. It keeps coming. It keeps coming. I mean, everything from cobots, collaborative robots, to predictive analytics, to virtual reality, on and on and on. Okay, I could go. If I'm a plant manager, I think that I might pull my hair out thinking, where do I go first? What do I do? How do they decide?
Good thing. So, probably not what you want to hear, Rick, off the bat is my advice to them is we don't focus on the technology.
Yeah.
Always focus on the problem that you're trying to solve.
Yeah.
People get attracted by the shiny objects, they get attracted by the hype, and you end up in a situation where it becomes technology for technology's sake. And those usually turn into boat anchors, expensive boat anchors at a manufacturing facility. So having a real clarity around about the issue, the problem, or the key performance indicator, what needle are you trying to move? And really, really understand that, and then take a step back and say, well, what of those new advanced manufacturing technologies that are out there may help us in solving that issue? So that's what I always encourage people to do is take that step back and do that.
Yeah, that's great advice, and I never thought about it that way, but you're exactly right. Adopting a technology for the sake of adopting a technology certainly doesn't make sense. Good advice. Now, if people do want to, they know I've got a challenge here, and I know to resolve it that I probably need to adopt this certain type of technology. You all, of course, at SCMEP can help do that. You all, I think, last year started a new type of assessment for Industry 4.0 tech. Tell me about that.
Yeah, right. If you know SCMEP, we always love to start any engagement with a client by using an assessment of some sort. We've had our competitiveness review for many years to get that 30,000-foot picture of the business. But with all the new advanced manufacturing technologies that come along, we wanted to be able to dive deeper in that specific area with a manufacturer. So yes, last year we had launched our advanced manufacturing technology assessment. I think we've done about 30 of them to date. And that really is, again, about having a conversation with the manufacturer to understand where they are, what they're ready for, their current level of technology adoption. But it's a wide-ranging conversation because it looks at all the things that will influence the success of that one. So, we'll talk to them about their leadership. We'll talk to them about their strategy. We'll talk to them about their operations, their growth plans, and also the culture of the company. Is it a company that's going to readily accept and embrace advanced manufacturing technology, or there are other areas that need to be focused on before that? Again, it's about making sure that it's successful and the money is well spent and that there's a return on investment. But you can't just go drop those technologies in tomorrow and expect optimum results.
So what does it cost if somebody needs an assessment?
It's absolutely free, right?
Absolutely
At SCMEP,
free.
we love our assessments. But again, due to their funding model, part federally funded, part state funded, we're always there to do the assessments at absolutely no cost to the manufacturer.
And I knew it was free. That's why I asked. Let's get back to the technology for a second. It makes perfect sense that people ought to solve a challenge or think about solving a challenge without choosing a tech. But let's talk about the tech. Give me, what are the most used, most popular technologies that manufacturers are using?
Yeah. So from our perspective, Rick, and we saw this way before the hype and all the hyperbole that we've seen recently, was artificial intelligence. We were very fortunate to bring on 2 third-party providers a few years ago that operate in that space. Rick Pedisano and the Delta Bravo guys from Rock Hill, and then Mo Abu Ali and IoTco from Cleveland, Ohio. And we've probably done about 25 to 30 projects in that area. What the technology that those guys brought to the marketplace allowed manufacturers to reduce the amount of off quality, so to be able to process huge amounts of data and see trends between the processes and the results they were getting and identify where problems lay, and then also to be able to take, again, large amounts of data and predict when equipment was about to fail. So ensuring the manufacturing process equipment has a higher uptime and is available to run when it's needed to run. So we've seen that starting again about maybe 5-6 years ago, artificial intelligence solutions in that area. It's become a buzzword for the public recently, but for manufacturers, they've been embracing this technology for some time now.
That's right. There are challenges associated with AI in a bunch of industries, but of course it makes perfect sense in the manufacturing world. Let's talk about practical analytics for a second. Stijn van der Velde, CEO of Gimba Systems, is going to join us here in a second to talk about it. But define practical analytics for us.
Well, I know Stijn's going to do that a much better job, right. And again with another sexy European accent. But I think, Rick, where it goes back to on that one is Peter Drucker, or it's been attributed to Peter Drucker. Many years ago, he said, "What gets measured, gets managed." So we are currently living in a time where there's a lot of data. We're very data rich these days. And it's actually to the point where it can be overwhelming. What I always like to think when I was in there to remember is that, most of us humans, we don't use data, we use information. And I think what Stijn will take you through there is practical analytics are taking all that data, bringing it together and actually putting it into the format where it's useful for humans. To be able to understand it, to interpret it, to make decisions about it, and then monitor the outcome of those decisions. So, making it digestible. Just, computers run really well on data. Humans, it's much more about information, particularly if you're running a manufacturing facility or managing a function within that. That's what you want to be able to do, is have really good, timely data that's understandable and actionable.
Good stuff. You got a couple of things going on, and I'll get you out of here on this, but I want to hear about a couple of things. One, there's a new webinar of interest to manufacturers. You and I talked about it, and it's called the CMMC 2.0. Please, I don't know what it is. Tell me about that.
Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, which is for manufacturers that operate in the defense industrial base. It's a new requirement, or a requirement that's about to be launched. It's been in development for a good number of years now, that it will be a requirement in order to be able to supply components to the Department of Defense. So looking for cybersecurity there. And that's on March 27th. We will actually be doing that. Again, free webinar, but just to provide those manufacturers that are interested, and we've helped a good number in the last few years, actually come up to speed and find out what the very latest developments in that standard are.
Andy, appreciate it, man.
Great. Thank you.
Always enjoy talking to Andy Carr, CEO at SCMEP, and as I've said many times before, manufacturers in the state of South Carolina don't have a better friend than Andy and his team over at the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in about 60 seconds, and I'll be joined by Steen Vandeveld. He is the CEO at Gemba Systems, and we're going to be talking about practical analytics. Be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to Let's Talk Manufacturing. I'm your host, Rick Jenkins. Today's show is brought to you by AFL. They are a leading global provider of optic solutions for broadband networks and data centers. Eric Borowitz, who works at AFL, will be joining me in just a sec. As I discussed with Andy Carr earlier, technology in the advanced manufacturing world is growing at a rate that is difficult to keep up with. Things like artificial intelligence, IoT, 3D printing, augmented reality, on and on and on. Most companies today are using analytics to improve efficiency. Maybe that's predictive analytics or practical analytics, which we're going to learn about right now. And here to help me with that conversation is Steen Vandeveld. He is the founder and CEO of Gemba Systems, an Industry 4.0 solutions provider and data analytics consultant. They're located in Greenville. And also, as I mentioned, Eric Borowitz. He is here. He's the general manager at AFL Conductor Accessories. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thanks for having us. Great. Thanks for having us.
It is good to have you guys here. Now, Steen, you and I know each other, but we've not seen each other quite some time. But we know each other. Eric, I just met you right before we started. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Let's get started just by talking about, let's have some elevator speeches, okay? And Eric, I'm going to start with you. I know the deal with AFL, but honestly, AFL Conductor Accessories, not exactly sure. Tell me about it.
So the Conductor Accessories is the oldest division in AFL. Came down from Messina, New York when Alcoa and Fujikura merged back in 1984 to bring an optical ground wire solution to the electrical utility industry. About 70% of our business is tied directly to the electrical utility industry, not the fiber optic network. So there's two parts of the business that I support, the fiber side, which is our sister plants, but primarily into the power grid.
Gotcha. And you mentioned Fujikura. That's the parent company located in what, Tokyo?
Yes, sir.
And every time somebody from AFL is on here, and it happens from time to time, I always ask the same question. Number one, do you get to go to Tokyo? And number two, when you go, do you like the sushi?
I've never been there.
You haven't? All right. Well, when you do go, report back about the sushi. Before we leave you, you all won a nice award. It's called the AFL Global President's Award. What the heck is that? And congrats.
Well, thank you very much. Fujikura every year presents an award for operational excellence. And this year, Our conductor accessories division won the award for our performance, both on operating profit and revenue growth over the last 2 years.
Seems to me like if you win an award like that, they ought to fly you to Tokyo and get sushi.
That's my hope.
Okay, yeah. I hope that occurs. Stain, let's turn over to you. Gemba Systems, you are the founder, you're the CEO, you're the big boss. Tell me what Gemba does.
Well, Gemba Systems is a solution provider for manufacturing companies. So basically, we help manufacturing companies create more value on their shop floor by bringing together people, processes, and the proper technologies.
Right, got it. And Gemba, where did the name Gemba come from?
Yeah, Gemba is basically the shop floor. It's the place where the work is done. Whether it's an actual shop floor or a cubicle, doesn't really matter. It's where the work's done. It's where the value is being created. And it's, as some people call it, the place of truth. So people in manufacturing typically know lean manufacturing. So in lean manufacturing, Gemba is a pretty important concept because one of the key principles in lean manufacturing is going to Gemba.
Got it.
In order to see with your own eyes what how the work's being done and what the opportunities are, the needs and opportunities for improvement. So yeah, Gemba's dear to us. And then there's the systems part of the name. And that's where the people, processes, and technologies, so that's what that stands for. It's aligning the people, processes, and technologies together to generate the value.
Understood. Okay, so when we were talking about you coming on here, and we were talking about practical analytics, I think I remember thinking or saying, you mean predictive analytics? And of course, I'm the idiot here. He's the professional. No, it's practical analytics. I could guess what that means. There's logic there, but explain it to me.
Yeah. The practical analytics for us means 4 different things, really. It's one, analytics that are simple and usable or understandable by regular people, not just the PhDs and data scientists and folks like that. It's also analytics that are useful and actually used by people in their day-to-day jobs. So it's not so much about pretty dashboards or things that are used once every quarter at a business review or something. It's about things that people have benefit from in their day-to-day activities. The third thing is that it has to inspire focused and meaningful action. Data without analysis is waste, oftentimes, not always, but analysis without insights and action is complete waste. So we really do not want to do a bunch of analytics in order to have wallpaper type of charts. We want it to be actually put to use. And then lastly, when you do put it to use, the whole intent is to have impact. So practical analytics is supposed to have immediate, tangible impact on people's day-to-day jobs and on their quality of life and work life, if you will, and making them excited about the tools that they're being provided, and the tools actually they help design and build themselves alongside us, shoulder to shoulder most of the time. Because they help them save time, do a better job, and basically shine and help the company be successful.
Got it. Okay. Eric, y'all had a problem. Don't know what the problem is, but you're going to tell us. There was a challenge you needed to resolve. And so before we get into how you made your way to this guy, let's talk about that challenge. Tell me about it.
So again, we're basically a job shop. So CNC mills, lathes, we build to order. Lots of activity in the plant. I would say it may seem simple on the outside, but it's very complicated on the inside. In trying to improve our productivity and growth, we've had some consulting activity, which I'm not a fan of consultants. People that come into your plant who tell you what they can solve for you without knowing who you are. And we had a couple events that were not very beneficial for the group. Okay. We had challenges throughout the plant. One of my colleagues had done business with Gemba Systems before in a smaller context, so he convinced me to give him a try. And the difference between Gemba Systems and other consultants were they came in, they worked the plant. They didn't give me a promise. We didn't have a contract that extended years. It was, I'm going to pay you month by month, and we're going to see how we progress. A lot of faith generated. But the biggest impact was they got to the grassroots of the plant to figure out where our needs were. We started in warehouse and inventory management, getting engagement from the operators that actually pull all the parts to supply the jobs in the plant. organize the warehouse to minimize the time and effort. And although the project took several months, it was very effective. It saved us a lot of opportunity and time. And then we decided to expand that into the data analytics piece, which was one source of data. I used to combine or, generate spreadsheets and data for me to manage the plant. But nobody on the shop floor had either access to or the knowledge to create their own.
Right.
So the challenge for execution partners, Gemba Systems, was take my data, take what I look at, and then repurpose it, reapply it to the shop floor. So every one of my supervisors, managers, pulls from the same database, the same source, one truth, to create a system that they can manage their responsibilities within the plant.
So let me do a listening check. It sounds like you just knew you needed organizational assistance. And it sounds like you knew that there were savings to be had, efficiencies to achieve, hence profit margin to increase. Correct. We weren't exactly sure maybe where all that was. You just knew it was there.
We knew it was there.
That's kind of what I'm hearing, right?
Correct.
And you knew that you needed someone to come in and not only tell you how to fix it, but tell you where those efficiencies are. I got that right?
Correct.
Okay. So you heard about this guy from somebody, and so you give him a call. You hear from this fella, and tell me what happens.
Well, we came in. I still remember, actually, there was a plant-wide meeting that day in the training room. There was over 100 people. And Eric, towards the end of the discussion, tells the group, oh, by the way, we brought in some people pointing at us. We were sitting against the wall, Joseph and I.
How many folks? Just you and
Joseph? And that was, it's the two of us. And he's like, yeah, I brought in 2 consultants, and they're here to help clean up the warehouse. And everybody laughed. And so that's when we got started. We took a couple of weeks to talk to a whole bunch of people at all the levels to try to understand what was going on, what was the problems, the complaints, if you will. Put it on the brown paper. The brown paper was on the wall for like 6 months or longer. A bunch of sticky notes that we grouped and created this cause-effect diagram. And then we started trimming the branches, basically like solving the different issues that were there so we could stop the bleeding and start putting fixes in place. The biggest amount of the work actually was physically helping the team clean up the warehouse. Joseph and I both lost about 15 pounds in the process. Unfortunately, we gained it ×2 ever since, but we managed to get the warehouse reorganized and cleaned up.
You actually came in and did janitorial services.
We did.
Wow.
Yeah, we got down and dirty.
Spent a lot of time with employees.
Yes.
Spent a lot of time at looking at how they did things, I'm assuming, and the organization of Eric's spreadsheets, and started figuring out, I would assume, how to better handle that.
Yeah, we actually started building analytical tools just to help us through this massive challenge of cleaning up this really big warehouse. Because you know, Eric, how many parts are in it and how many pounds, not just steel, but different alloys. It's a massive warehouse with a lot of complexity. So we needed tools to figure out what's the plan here, how are we progressing, when are we ever going to be done, and how do we also give the folks of the warehouse little like action items for them to pick stuff, consolidate things, clean things up. Inserting it in the daily picking jobs that the folks already had. Just little extra to-dos for them to continuously help us clean the warehouse up and keep it in good shape. So we made those tools to help us clean up the warehouse. And then when we handed them over to the folks that actually managed the warehouse, they liked those tools and they started using them and started wanting more.
I think that's the key for the data analytics piece is whatever you design, you have to have buy-in from the associates, and it has to be sustainable without any additional. So those systems that they put in place, I don't have to check on them to make sure they're using the tools. They use the tools because they know the benefit of the tools and they help develop them.
Yeah.
So that's a powerful aspect.
Let me get a picture of your warehouse. So AFL conductor accessories. So you've got probably all kinds of parts, all different types of parts.
So we do castings, extrusions, drawn tubes, different parts. So in our warehouse, we have probably 12,000 different item numbers and 15 to 17,000 locators.
How many square footage of warehouse?
About 75,000 square feet.
All right, big spot.
Yep.
Okay. And you got things everywhere.
got them everywhere in all different locations.
Right.
So these guys came in, basically organized it by product family, by piece size, in coordination with all the people in the warehouse. Yeah. And it hasn't changed in the 2 years that it's been in place. It's retained its orderliness as a result of those activities.
Yeah. So that's a big job, Stain. So after you all put your janitor hats on and you cleaned up physically, now you have to organize this and create a database of some sort, right?
Yes.
Tell me what that process looks like.
Actually, that was part of the cleanup because a lot of the parts were raw materials, and in the ERP system there was no designation what finished goods those raw materials belonged to. So we had to make like a rogue data source, if you will, using farm information and stuff to assign raw materials to finished products, which we then utilized to organize things by product family and subfamily. But that came in really handy for a whole lot of applications later down the road. And in the meantime, we've actually incorporated that into the official ERP database. But we indeed started creating data sources to enrich the data we had, make it easier for people to understand what they were looking at. But as we were still, working towards the tail end of the warehouse cleanup, folks saw the power. There was a need to do something with pricing, basically. And so we were asked to support in a pricing initiative where we found 3,500 Excel sheets. People are managing prices in Excel files, and there's versioning, different versions of these files, and they're supposed to negotiate updated pricing every so often. So they have to remember that it's time to update pricing and all these types of things. So basically it was a situation with raw material prices going up really quickly, tail end of COVID, supply chain challenges. And there was just a lack of really good tools for folks to see, like to proactively get these prices updated and to make sure that they weren't accepting orders at the wrong price points and things like that. So we just took a bunch of Excel files, created into a database, as you're saying, and created tools for folks to manage things by exception. So there was a long list at first of quotes and then bookings accepted not at the right price points, and basically we provided customer service and other folks with the tools to catch these things and to fix them before they did damage. If I'm represented as properly.
Yeah, again, we're managing pricing manually without a lot of data behind it. And when remembering COVID, the price changes for commodities was insane and changing every month. So very, very difficult to manage. These tools allowed our product line managers to have a very strong, and I think this is the other part about data analytics, was visual tools to identify the anomalies. What's good, what's bad, and you have an immediate, draw to attention to address an issue before it slides downhill, and then you can't catch it up.
Yeah, exactly. Eric, tell me what I would assume that you can feel the difference, of course, right? But if we're looking at it on paper, what is the difference between pre-Gemba and post-Gemba?
Pretty remarkable change. We've more than doubled our operating profit as a division.
Wow.
And it really comes through efficiency, cost savings, managing a price, all of those factors coming together. It wasn't one single event, but the combination of all. And it was a growth over, I'll say there was some patience required. I think sometimes people have a tendency to look for an immediate fix.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes some time in order to allow that fix to grow and blossom. I think what's one of the reasons we win the award was that growth in both revenue, but growth in profit as well, and efficiency.
So what I hear, Stain, is that when Eric gets invited to Tokyo for sushi, then you should be coming along. Okay. All right.
I disagree. If I can pick up on that, though, it does take courage to see it through. It's not an overnight thing. It takes a lot of effort and seeing it through to get to a point where the whole organization adopts data as a powerful tool. That's one piece. The other piece that I think an important point to make, our role is just to turn data into insight. It's Eric's role and his team's role to turn insight into decisions and actions and results. We only do the initial little piece. Everything else is Eric and his team. And that's where the partnership comes in. We just speak the same language. We're there, for each other, and we play our role in I think, a very effective way.
You talk about a partnership, and you said that that this thing that you worked on together was a couple years ago, but you're still working on things together today. Tell me what that is.
So we've done a couple of really interesting things. One is a RTLS system, so we actually can track jobs throughout the shop, have that monitoring. We do a lot of activity with storm damage or power outages where utilities need product immediately. We're able to tag those with some
little tags,
tags, and we can real-time track them through the shop, which gives us an immediate understanding of where the job is, how much more time's left, so we can actually have those conversations with the utilities saying, here's where it is, here's where it'll be finished, rather than walking through the plant and trying to figure it out.
Right.
It's all done remotely. So that's been a powerful tool for us as well. We continue to develop tools. One of the things, as we make decisions, not every decision or not every tool was as functional as you want it to be, right? So we're continually modifying to adjust to how our plant's running, how the market's running, what our needs are. So I think it's a continuing development. We have Stain's team in the plant.
Yeah.
They're not remote. They work side by side in our plant.
How often?
They're there all day, every
day. We got 2 people full time.
Okay.
You talk about partnership.
I was going to say.
Yeah. They get to see what their impact is or what our impact is every single day. They walk through the floor. They talk to our supervisors. They make modifications. And the great thing for me, it's not waiting for an email to get answered. They're right there on the shop floor. I can walk up to them and talk to them at any time.
Yeah. That's a true partnership.
It is a true partnership.
Stain, last words.
I don't know what to add. I'm grateful for the partnership. It's been a great run so far, and we are working on a number of other exciting things right now. So I'm looking forward to, seeing what the future brings.
Man, that was good stuff. Eric, thank you.
Thank you.
It was good.
Appreciate you having us.
Stain, it's good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you.
Appreciate you joining us, folks. That is Stain Vandeveld. He is the owner and the CEO at Gimba Systems, and Eric Borwitz, the general manager at AFL Conductor Accessories. And that completes another episode of Let's Talk Manufacturing. Appreciate you joining us. We'll see you next time.